And you can translate this, none of that belongs to that when we are fully present to something, anything. When we are fully present, so utterly present, so fully and totally committed present, no possibility for pendulum. We neither feel arrogant nor do we feel insignificant. We only feel arrogant or insignificant when we twiddle our thumb, but we're not in the present. You know, we twiddle our thumb. We're neither here nor there, you know.
I think the question hasn't fully formed yet, but it's been coming and going in the past weeks, was this, and also coming up today as well, is this kind of pendulum that I see myself going through, where on the one hand, there's this feeling of inadequacy very often on the one side, and then there's also this very strong other side, which has the quality of arrogance almost. And I find it very, well, I do let it come, and I give it space and know that it will take the direction that it will take. But I would like to learn to better navigate those two extreme feelings. So my question is, yes, how do I navigate extremities, especially when it comes to the spiritual process and the feeling of inadequacy on the one hand, and when answers come up, then there's immediately this sense of arrogance, which I also know has always been a pattern with me. Yes, I think that's how far I can bring it.
Maybe just, can you say a word or two more towards inadequacy? Like inadequacy in relation to what? Inadequacy in yourself, in your abilities, inadequacy in what? In relation to what?
I think inadequacy in kind of, am I really supposed to be here? Is it really me? Yeah, that's that sort of inadequacy, I suppose. I know, on the other hand, I am supposed to be here, but...
Is English not your first language?
No.
No. What's your first language? What's the language you use on a daily basis? Your
German.
First language? German. Can you say that instead of inadequacy? Can you say that, not translate inadequacy? How would you say that in German? Oh, someone will translate it for us.
Dieses Gefühl von nicht hier hingehören, nicht hier reingehören. Maybe it's also belonging.
So, in other words, it's a doubt, isn't it? A doubt. Is it, because when you say inadequacy, and I do understand and I sense into this, but I want also for everyone and for myself to have here a clearer insight. Is it the doubt in terms of your capacity, or doubt in terms of the validity of the situation? Let's say this situation, as you pointed out, I know, should I be here, right? Is it right for me? You know, is it being here right now in this room, for example, in this workshop, in this country, in this life, right? It sort of rhetorical versus existential.
Yes, no, definitely not about in this room. I'm very, like, I know.
Okay, so you see, that's already helpful,
Yes.
more helpful. We're speaking about doubt, right? Because arrogance, right, and doubt are two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. But carry on, and then I will take it from there.
Yeah, I don't know where I wanted to carry on to.
So would you agree with me that I suggested that perhaps inadequacy could also be because I don't want to put words into your mouth. This is the last thing I want to do. So inadequacy and doubt, something, is it the doubt versus arrogance, knowing it all, and right, and what is this pendulum,
I think the moment I feel arrogance, I try to push myself back into to kind of humble myself, and I kind of push myself. I feel like I push myself too far over to the other edge, and it kind of hinders my progression and understanding these feelings on a more subtle level.
Yeah, sure. It's clear. It's clear. Do you like arts?
Yes.
Yeah. What is your favorite form of art?
That is a very different question, and that is a difficult question because that is a question I've been thinking about for the past month, and into which art do I want to delve into, because the interest is everywhere and nowhere really. And
yeah. Name 2, 3. Doesn't have to be limited to one.
I think the art of sewing and dressmaking has always been one that has fascinated me. And yeah, mostly that around clothing.
Which has, it's visual, isn't it?
Visual.
It's a visual. And clothes making, it kind of combines in itself so many things, right? It's about anatomy, and it's about architecture. It's about gravity, right? And defying the gravity, isn't it? It's like the language of the clothes. It's like what to articulate, what. So to me, that also has this, right. It has architectural elements, and it has also this undeniable aspect of the anatomy, right? So, but it's all visual. It's visual arts. It's something requires eyes, right? So in other words, belongs to the visual arts. So there need to be a dress, right? To appreciate it, to enjoy, right? So if the naked king will walk the streets, that obviously the metaphor here, right, is way too obvious. To king has to wear a clothes, he has to wear a dress, right, to convince him that this is the dress he's wearing. He's wearing nothing, right? It was a great act of trickstery, and of course the joke was played on what maybe self-aggrandizing character of the king, who wanted to have dress nobody else would have, But that's not the example I want to give it. when I wanted to give it to you originally. I wanted to give an example which we will build a little bit together, okay? So have you heard of, are you at all familiar with the history of arts, like visual, right, painting? Do you know the name Giotto? No?
No,
Doesn't matter.
My background is
no,
not.
it's so Giotto was considered to be painter with whom Renaissance started. Period. That's how they agree. Giotto di Bondoni, painter, right? And there is this interesting thing about Giotto being the kind of first artist of the Renaissance. Like the Renaissance begins with Giotto. Why with Giotto? We could argue, the art historians may argue, but it is Giotto who kind of broke away from how it was before and how it kind of became to be known. It is also with Giotto that a person began to be known as well. Before it was all artisans, collective input of doing things together. Suddenly there is this artist, Giotto, becoming known. Him and his band of artisans go and they receive commission and they need to paint this chapel. White walls, do whatever you want with it, guys. So this interesting thing about this encounter, for instance, and I mean, he's an extraordinary artist, extraordinary. The language he came up with suddenly, this like a single gesture in a primitive way, still primitive. It's language can be used here, primitive, but sophisticatedly primitive. You see? I personally had my own revolution, utterly destroyed me when I lived in Italy for some 7 months. I came there with all these artists who were like larger than life, like Superman, right? Like from the Marvel, Leonardo's and Michelangelo's, I grew up on them. Like I used to draw them from their sculptures, as a kid, the academy. So you're coming to Florence and you see the art and it's like, and you go then and see Giotto, and it's astonishing. In Giotto, spirit still speaks to you. In Michelangelo, it doesn't. It's just a naked man, David there, well executed. No, like, okay, wow, what a disillusionment. So this encounter, Giotto, this is like early Renaissance. Imagine beginning somewhere of the 13th century, white walls, and he just doing this, paints. And this question, apparently, see, Giotto, how do you know when you've done something good and when you've done something which is not good and need to be remade? How do you know that this is good? And because he's such a man of faith, he says, well, this is the biggest question to me. Please, this is really, really painful for me to admit, because when I paint, my hand is moved by God. So even if I make mistake, who makes this mistake? Is it my hand that made mistake, or the God moved my hand? So I don't know whether I should correct that, but who am I to correct that? You see? Who am I to correct that? This is like, it hit me as an arrow, as an artist, like hit me strongly. And I wanted to share this example with you because it's something which is not aloof, abstract. It's something I lived. And you can apply it to your own dilemma. One way or another, whatever we do, between arrogance and inadequacy, as you put it, or doubt, it's the same thing. It's supporting construct in a way. One supports the other. You remove that construct, and what you left is alone with that what is now moves my hand. That alone what moves my hand now. I cannot do better, nor can I do worse. And when something happens and I step back and I look at it, and I don't know. And yes, the wave of arrogance rising, my God, what a day today. what an achievement in the studio right now. Whoa. And then, of course, it's like ashamed of myself. There's nothing to do with you, son of a gun. Just shut the fuck. Just be quiet. Enjoy what happened, what moved through you now. Okay? Do you have the humility to do that? You see? I went through that same pendulum, through that same thing, you see? Until some recognition dawned that none of that, you see? None of that. And you can translate this, none of that belongs to that when we are fully present to something, anything. When we are fully present, so utterly present, so fully and totally committed present, no possibility for pendulum. We neither feel arrogant nor do we feel insignificant. We only feel arrogant or insignificant when we twiddle our thumb, but we're not in the present. We twiddle our thumb. We neither here nor there, It's this dilemma of when I'm meditating, I'm losing on fun. When I go and have fun, I'm actually wasting my life because I could be meditating. It's the same thing, existential. You see? In meditation, meditate. When you go and rave, rave. Do not dwindle. It's like Zen Buddhism proverb. When walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all else, do not wobble. Simple. Simple truth. So when we are present fully, then the capacity of our consciousness to what is there is all there is. No pendulum, no need for pendulum. The psychological discrepancy comes in when we are out of whack. This is where you catch yourself. You don't work on how to reconcile being arrogant or being insignificant, inadequate, or full of doubts. It's a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. I don't want you to waste your time. We can come up with a heap of methods how to reconcile arrogance with this. No, it's the same coin. What's important is this coin fake or real? That's all the values. What you print on that coin is secondary to the value of the coin until proven otherwise. You see? So this is where you make your own revelations and insight. You take these insights. But Giotto standing on a scaffolding there, his apprentices, his gang, basically, they done the grosso modo. He goes there to do master touches, right? Because he cannot alone, single man. He's not Michelangelo. It's Michelangelo who was a titan. He was all over the place. When I went into the Sistine Chapel, he would kid me not. It's astonishment, but what a waste of time. My God, drawings are more precious than what happened on the walls. It's the work of a titan, but not work of a god. You see? The god concealed behind a titanic effort. Whereas in Giotto, it's clear language, clear. And he's on this scaffolding now. His job is to do the profile and the hand. You see? Maybe St. Francis feeding the birds, In this simplicity, this renaissance is born, reborn, that in this simplicity, Spirit speaks to me through centuries. And that dilemma there, you see how Giotto answered the question. Please, he says, do not ask me this. Do not ask me this. How do I know who moves my hand? How shall I know? I better not know. So, but the insight beyond the poetic metaphor is when we are fully present, and Giotto seems to was fully present, you see? And when we are present, presence speaks through us, no matter what we do. It's only when we twiddle our thumb, when we don't know whether we're coming or going, where we are. We're neither here nor there. So that's where your work is, to be fully present. Then whatever you do is secondary. When you realize that, then you can be, you can do things that are done like Vivienne Westwood, like Alexander McQueen, I don't know who's your favorite designer, clothes maker? Yoji Yamamoto, Michiko Kochino, Rei Kawakubo? Who?
Yeah, Rei Kawakubo.
Yeah. Do you know what Rei Kawakubo said? That the most inspirational things that come to her in terms of colors is Uzbekistan. Have you ever heard that? Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah, Comme des Garçons shirts, this juxtaposition of that yellow, that screaming open spectrum yellow next to purple, it's Uzbekistan. You will not find it in any good taste in other cultures. You have to go down in Central Asia. And that's what she did. And the sleeves of these Comme des Garçons shirts back in the days when they were made in Paris, in France. Holy cow. She is a holy cow, living holy cow, no? Yeah, I worshipped her when I was a kid. From my perspective, when I was 20-something, I was still a kid. So, yeah, fully present. Thank you. Thank you. Very good question. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.